What's happening, guys? It's Anthony with Jhulys Aquatics and Gardening, and welcome back to another video. Now today I'm putting together my potting mix or potting soil at long last. Recently a subscriber asked if I had a video showing how I put together my own potting mix, but it was an old video and it wasn't really a dedicated video, so I wanted to make sure I did a dedicated video showing you guys how I put together my potting mix, because it's just cheaper for me to do it this way. So a couple disclaimers. Number one, I am not an expert. I have done very little research on, the components and how to put them together and the right ratios. I just pretty much go with the flow and I just do my own thing. And also, this is not a very scientific process. I don't measure and all that stuff. I've been doing it for a while, that I kind of know, the look and feel that I'm going for and what balance of things to put in, but I'm going to try my best to put together a ratio for you. So 3 things that you need for potting mix. Number 1, you need your base layer. Number 2, you need your fertilizers. And number 3, you need drainage. So your base layer can either consist of peat moss, which I didn't feel like bringing out the big bale, but I have peat moss here in a 5-gallon bucket. Or you can use coconut coir. Now, coconut coir is more sustainable than peat moss, and a lot of people are moving over towards coconut coir. One of the things that I found with coconut coir is it's very salty. Even when it says it's triple washed, and this says washed premium coconut coir, whatever. But even though some of them might be triple washed, I find out that still there's a lot of salts in them. And some plants respond very negatively to potting mixes with high salt content. So what I'll do is I'll rinse this again myself, particularly when I'm using it for carnivorous plants, to again try to leach out as much of that salt as possible. But I'm not going to do that today because I just don't feel like it. So you need a base layer. You can use either or you can do a mixture of both. Again, coconut coir being more sustainable, and a lot of people are moving away from peat moss. One thing with peat moss is it's really hard to hydrate, so you want to make sure that if you're using a strictly peat moss based mix exclusively, that you have a plan to keep your plants hydrated, or hydrate your peat moss before you use it, which is what I typically do, but I'm not doing that today. Second thing with coconut coir, it's for me, in my experience, I found out when I use just strictly coconut coir based potting mixes, they hold on to water a lot better. So the water retention properties of coconut coir, in my experience again, supersede peat moss. But I'm going to be using a mixture of both today. So I've compressed a 5-gallon bucket full of coconut coir, so I'm going to be dumping that in. Alright, and I'm going to do equal parts of peat and cocoa coir. Should have brought a scissors over. And you can see the texture of the coconut coir here. It's really nice. It's a really good textured product. And again, this is pre-washed, so it's a bit moist already, which is good. All right, so 5 gallons. This bag is probably 1 cubic feet, a 1 cubic foot bag, and I paid $20 for it. 1.7 cubic feet, and I paid $20 for it, which to me was a pretty good bargain. And the coconut coir rather, I'm not compressing it. But what I do like to do is take the clumps and rub them between my hands to break them up a little bit. All right, so that's my base. So next, we're gonna need to think about drainage. Now you have a couple of options. First option being perlite, which this is typically what you'll see in potting mixes or potting soils. It's just that little white stuff, looks like styrofoam, that you'll see in your potting mixes. Now, again, I typically just go by feel, but I have this 5-quart bucket here. All right, so based on the amount of base that I have, I think I'm gonna need about 7 quarts of drainage. So I'm gonna do 5 quarts of perlite. And as you can see, it's very dusty, so you wanna work with perlite in a very ventilated area, because again, you don't wanna be breathing this stuff in. If you don't have access to perlite, you can use pine bark soil conditioner. I've had this outside for a couple of months. This is from Frey Brothers. It's really, really good stuff. I used this as mulch in one of my flower beds last year, and that area has really good drainage. I mean, you can see that it just kind of looks like bark. Actually, you know what? I think I'm gonna do 5 quarts of pine bark. With pine bark though, it is pretty acidic, so it will acidify your soil. But again, very good for drainage. And I think I might add a little bit more. We'll see. Last thing I have is a bag of vermiculite. Again, it's good for drainage. I'm gonna add about 2 quarts of this. And really what this will do is help keep the soil from compacting. I found in my experience, because I've been blending up these things for a while, I found when I just use perlite or I just use coconut coir, after a while they tend to break down and they still can make the soil compact. I have noticed some compaction when I use just those 2 products, but since I've started to add in vermiculite to my potting soil, I have had a significant improvement in keeping my soil from compacting. So those are our 2 base layers. We have our base, which is coconut coir, a mix of coconut coir and peat, and we also have drainage. Now technically you could stop there. This technically is a potting mix, but there's no nutrients in there. So now we want to add our nutrients or our fertilizers. And you can go to town on this part, and you can add as much or as little as possible. One thing that you absolutely have to have in potting mix is compost. Now, I use this locally made stuff. It's called Leaf Grow. I think it's a Maryland-based product, and I can get it here in Delaware. It's magic. When I tell you this stuff is magic, it's magic. If you can't get your hands on it, Frey Brothers compost is another really good compost that I found that works well. You can probably see here, it's broken down really well. It's broken down really well, and I mean, it just adds so much. I'm gonna add about 5 or 6 quarts. And I did get this bag wet, hence we have clumps. But again, they're really easy to break up. Not yet. Not yet, mommy. And so again, you could stop here, but I'm not going to. Next, I add in worm poop, worm castings. This stuff again, black gold, it's magic. I'm gonna add a heaping 5 quarts. Now the last thing I'm going to do is add about 4 or 5 quarts of what I call my extras. I'm going to add some rock dust, which adds trace minerals to my potting mix, and you can see it's really dust, right? That's what it looks like. And trace minerals meaning not your N, P, and K, nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus. I'm gonna add some neem or some alfalfa meal, which is a good source of nitrogen. I'm gonna add neem, which is a good source of, I believe, phosphorus for root growth. I'm gonna add a little bit of that in. Just because I like it, but not for any particular reason, I'm gonna add in some composted chicken manure. And the last thing that I always add is a handful of lime. And that I just do in order to make myself feel better, to correct for any pH issues. And I didn't remember to bring it out, but I will certainly go and grab it. Un momento. And there's my handful of lime. So now I'm just gonna mix it all up. Well, that's it, guys. That's how I put together my organic compost. Again, there's nothing to it. And depending on what I have on hand, the additives might fluctuate. I like to put in kelp meal. I didn't have any of that on hand right now. I like to put in fishbone meal. I couldn't find it. Sometimes I'll add in oyster shell for a calcium boost. So it all depends on what I have on hand. So really and truly, again, you just want to remember, when you're making up your own potting mixes, you need 3 basic elements. You need a base layer. It can either be coconut coir, or it could be peat, or as in my case, it can be a mixture of both. You need some type of drainage. It can come in the form of pine bark, perlite. You can use poultry grit. So it all depends on what you can find. And lastly, you need your nutrients. That can come in the way of worm castings, kelp meal, alfalfa meal, compost, whatever you have on hand. Like I added rock dust, which I don't always add. So again, play with it, play with your ratios, find out what works best for you. If it's not cheaper for you to buy everything and mix up batches as you need it, then get bags. I did that for a long time until I discovered putting it together on my own. So again, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you'll share this video. I hope you'll give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below and let me know whether or not you've ever made up your own potting mixes. What have you added to it? And if you want to give this a try. I will try to link in the description as many of these products as I can in case you want to purchase them or read up on them and, you know, kind of glean whatever information and knowledge you can. I now have a whole lot of repotting to do, so I'm going to be using this up rather quickly. So I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for liking, watching, commenting, subscribing, and sharing. Remembering all things, give thanks, and I'll catch you in the next video, guys. Take care.